I had always known my son, Daniel, as the quiet one. From the moment he entered this world, he seemed to prefer the soft hum of stillness over the noise of crowds. As a baby, he rarely cried. As a toddler, he clung to my leg at every playground, watching the other children run wild with cautious eyes. And as he grew older, his gentle nature never faded. At family gatherings, while the cousins filled the house with laughter and chaos, Daniel would sit in the corner with a book or quietly help me in the kitchen. Teachers would tell me, "He's polite, thoughtful, but he rarely speaks up." I used to worry about it. Was he too shy? Was I sheltering him too much? But over time, I accepted that this was just who Daniel was. He wasn't weak. He simply chose peace over noise. I never imagined that same quiet boy would one day stand between me and danger. That night started like any other. The late autumn wind rattled the windows, and a fine mist of rain tapped against the glass. The air carried that sharp, crisp scent of wet leaves. I had just finished cleaning the kitchen after dinner, nothing fancy, just soup and warm bread, and Daniel had disappeared upstairs to his room. He was 17 now, taller than me, but still carried himself in a way that almost made him seem smaller. "Reading before bed?" I asked as he passed me on the stairs earlier. He gave a small nod, eyes on the banister. "Yeah, probably. Night, Mom." His voice was soft, like always. I smiled and reached out to ruffle his hair, a gesture he'd long since pretended to dislike. He didn't pull away this time. The house settled into its nightly quiet. The hum of the refrigerator, the ticking of the hallway clock, the occasional groan of the old wooden beams, all the familiar sounds that told me I was safe at home. I slipped into my bedroom and pulled on a sweater, intending to read for a while myself. But then I heard it, a sound that didn't belong. At first, I thought it might just be the wind knocking something over outside. But then it came again, a soft, deliberate metallic click, like a lock being tested. My breath caught. The sound was coming from downstairs, from the back of the house. I froze, every muscle in my body tense. Then came the faint but unmistakable squeak of the back door hinges. It was slow, careful, the sound of someone trying not to be heard. My heart began to pound so loudly, I was sure it could be heard from the next room. My first instinct was to grab my phone from the nightstand and call the police. My fingers shook as I picked it up, but before I could dial, I heard the footsteps. They were deliberate, heavy enough to make the floorboards creak, but slow, as though the person was searching for something. I slipped into the hallway. Daniel's bedroom door was slightly ajar, and to my surprise, he was standing there. He was fully awake, wearing his hoodie, his eyes sharp with alertness I'd never seen before. "Mom," he whispered. I heard it too. I put a finger to my lips, motioning for him to stay in his room, but he shook his head. There was a steadiness in his gaze that made me pause, a quiet determination that didn't fit the boy I thought I knew. We froze as a shadow moved across the dim light spilling from the kitchen doorway downstairs. A tall figure was there, dressed in dark clothes, gloved hands rifling through the drawers. I could hear the clink of cutlery being moved aside, the rustle of papers. Fear rooted me in place. My mind screamed for me to act, to yell, to call out, to do something, but my body refused to move. Daniel didn't hesitate. Without a sound, he slipped past me into the narrow back staircase that led directly to the kitchen. My breath caught in my throat. "Daniel," I whispered urgently, but he was already gone. I edged forward until I could see more of the kitchen from the top of the main staircase. The intruder's back was to me. He moved with a practiced efficiency, searching every drawer and cabinet. And then I saw Daniel, stepping silently out from the shadows of the back stairwell. He glanced around the kitchen quickly, his eyes locking on the baseball bat leaning against the wall near the back door. In one swift motion, he picked it up, his hands tightening around the grip. He didn't look like my shy son in that moment. He looked focused, calculating. Instead of rushing at the intruder, Daniel did something unexpected. He deliberately nudged a glass measuring cup off the counter with the end of the bat. It crashed to the floor, shattering into pieces. The intruder spun around instantly, caught off guard by the sudden noise. For a split second, his guard dropped. That was all Daniel needed. He stepped forward and swung the bat in a controlled arc, striking the man's forearm as he reached toward his pocket. The clatter of metal hitting the floor told me the intruder had dropped something. A small flashlight, maybe, or something worse. Get out of our house. Daniel's voice roared through the kitchen, strong and unshaking. It was the first time I had ever heard him fill a room like that. The man stumbled back, clearly not expecting resistance, then bolted for the back door. Daniel followed just far enough to slam the door shut and throw the lock before dragging the heavy kitchen table in front of it. I was already halfway down the stairs, my heart racing. When I reached him, I grabbed his shoulders. Daniel, are you okay? He nodded, but I could feel the tremor in his body. His breathing was fast, but his eyes were steady. The police arrived within minutes, their flashing lights painting the rain-slicked driveway red and blue. They searched the area but didn't find the intruder. He had vanished into the night. Inside, they took our statements, examined the damaged doorframe, and assured us the man was likely an opportunist, testing for easy targets. But they also told Daniel, "You handled yourself well, son. Most people freeze up in situations like that." After they left, the house felt strangely silent again, the kind of silence that comes after a storm. I made us both hot chocolate, and we sat at the kitchen table. Daniel kept his gaze on the swirling steam rising from his cup. "I don't know what came over me," he finally said, his voice quieter now. "I just couldn't let him hurt you." I reached across the table and took his hand. "Daniel, you were brave tonight. You protected us." He gave a small, embarrassed smile, but I saw it, that flicker of pride in his eyes. It was subtle, but it was there. That night, as I lay in bed, I couldn't stop replaying it all. The quiet footsteps, the shadow in the kitchen, the way my son, my shy, soft-spoken son, had stepped forward without hesitation. I realized something then. Courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's quiet until the moment it's needed most. From that night on, I never looked at Daniel the same way. He still preferred books over parties, still avoided the spotlight. But I knew there was a fire inside him now, one that only showed itself when it truly mattered. And every time I passed the baseball bat by the back door, I thought about that moment, the one I never saw coming. The night my shy son became my hero. I never expected him to do what he did that night, but I'll be grateful for the rest of my life that he did.